You wake up to a sound that doesn't belong up here. It's not the steady fan noise you've trained yourself to ignore. It's not the soft click of relays. It's not the gentle creak of a structure expanding and contracting as it moves from sunlight to shadow. This is sharper, wet, a fast, angry hiss that makes your stomach drop before your brain catches up. Your eyes open, but you're still floating, still strapped into a sleeping bag that suddenly feels like a body bag. The air tastes wrong, dry metal and something sour, like scorched plastic that never fully burned. Your throat tightens, as if the station itself is squeezing you. You don't move at first because your mind wants to pretend it's a drill, wants to reach for the comfort of procedure. Then the lights dim for half a second, come back, dim again, and a warning tone starts pulsing through the module like a heartbeat you can't shut off. You are not fully awake, and you already know you are in trouble. Your hands fight the zipper with clumsy fingers. Sweat lifts off your skin in weightless beads and sticks to you anyway, held by surface tension, clinging to your forearms like a film. You twist, push yourself out of the bag, and you hit the first hard truth. You can't tell where the sound is coming from. Up here, direction lies to you. Noise slides through metal and air in ways that make your instincts useless. The hiss is everywhere. The alarm is in your bones. Your chest wants to sprint, but there's nowhere to run. You clamp your lips, inhale shallow. The air feels thin even though your brain can't prove it yet. Your eyes flick to the pressure display. You have to focus to read it because your heart is pounding hard enough to blur the numbers. The line is dropping. Not crashing, not yet, dropping. Slow enough to torture you, fast enough to kill you if you waste time. You shove off the wall and drift toward the hatch, grabbing handholds too hard, nails biting into plastic. A strap floats free nearby, twitching in the airflow you can't see but can feel on your cheek. That's the station breathing out. That's your world leaking into space. Your mouth is already dry. You swallow and it doesn't help. Somewhere in the station, a tiny hole is turning everything you have into vacuum. You pull yourself down the tunnel, fast but controlled, because panic is how people die up here. You can hear your own breath louder than the fans now. You can feel your pulse in your fingertips as you slap at a panel, trying to bring up the right page, trying to remember the sequence you practiced in a clean classroom on Earth, where gravity kept your feet honest. Here, your body floats, and your thoughts float with it. You smell it again. Hot electronics and a faint chemical tang that makes you think of battery acid. The light flickers once more. The hiss shifts in tone like it's laughing at you. You brace your forearm against a handrail and force your mind to do its job. Contain, isolate, survive. The station is a long metal lung, and right now it has a puncture wound. And before you can even decide what to seal, another sound arrives under the alarm. Tiny, rapid taps, like grains of sand hitting a tin roof. Your skin prickles. You know what that means without wanting to. Debris. Micrometeoroids. Something hit you. Something might still be hitting you. The station shudders so gently you might mistake it for your own shaking, but you don't. You feel it in the handrail. You feel it in your teeth. You are awake now, fully, brutally. Welcome to this simulation. If you want to survive history, if you want to be dropped into places where human beings were never meant to be and make it out with your mind intact, subscribe. It helps this channel reach more people who like their stories slow, real, and unforgiving. Now breathe. Stay with the narration. You are going to the International Space Station on a night that starts calm and ends wrong. Now you go back. You go back to the beginning, before the hiss, before the numbers started falling, before your brain learned the shape of fear in zero gravity. You were already up when the night begins, because up here, night is just the station sliding into Earth's shadow. The clocks say it's late. Your body says it's late. Your bones ache with a tiredness that's different from Earth tiredness. Less weight, more constant strain. Every movement up here asks little muscles to do work they were never designed for. Even when you rest, you are still holding yourself in place. You can't just collapse. You have to hook a foot, tuck a knee, hold a rail with 2 fingers, anchor your body so you don't drift into a panel and bruise a shoulder you'll need tomorrow. The station smells like a closed room that never gets opened. It's not rotten, it's not filthy, it's something stranger. Filtered air, warmed plastic, fabric that's been sweated into and dried 100 times, faint disinfectant, faint machine oil. Under it all, there's always the sharp edge of electronics. Fans push air through ducts non-stop, a constant roar you stop hearing only because your brain gives up. Every so often you catch a whiff of food, rehydrated curry, tortillas, coffee, that hangs in pockets until the airflow pulls it away. You float through a module lit by soft LEDs, and you know the layout by muscle memory now. Handrails at chest height, labels everywhere, Velcro patches on every surface like the place is covered in black mold, but it's just your system for not losing objects. Pens, wipes, tools, cables, everything wants to drift and vanish. You have learned the hard way that losing something small can become a big problem. A lost wrench can float behind a panel and short a connection. A lost water droplet can crawl into a vent and freeze or grow bacteria. Even your own sweat is a hazard if it gets into the wrong place. Your skin feels tight, not from cold, from dryness. The air up here is kept at a humidity that keeps the electronics happy, not you. Your sinuses burn sometimes, your lips crack, your eyes feel gritty. You drink more water than you think you need because dehydration sneaks up on you in a place where you don't sweat the same way and you don't feel thirsty until it's already too late.
Temperature is a lie, too. Some spots in the station feel warm, where equipment runs hot and the airflow is weak. Other spots are cold enough that you can feel it through fabric, where vents dump chilled air and metal sucks the heat from your skin. You learn where not to rest your forearm for too long. You learn to keep your hands moving. You learn that comfortable is not a setting in orbit. It's a negotiation. You are drifting toward the cupola, the observation module, because that's where your mind goes when the day is done. People think astronauts are always inspired by the view. Sometimes you are. Sometimes you are numb to it. Sometimes you are too tired to care. But the cupola is quiet compared to the other modules, and the windows give your eyes something that isn't a panel or a checklist. Down on Earth, people look up at the sky to feel small. Up here, you look down and feel smaller. You pull yourself in and settle, planting a knee under a handrail, letting your torso float close to the glass. The windows are thick, layered, and scratched in places, tiny scars from dust and debris over the years. Out there is black so deep it looks like a hole punched in reality. Then Earth slides into view, filling the window like a living map. City lights, not a few, thousands. Lines of them along coasts, clusters around rivers, webs of them spreading inland like veins. The planet looks peaceful because it can afford to. It's wrapped in atmosphere, protected by a thin blue line that does more work than anything humans have ever built. From here, storms look like art. Clouds swirl in slow spirals. Lightning flashes inside them like distant camera pops. You can see the curve of the world and you can feel it in your gut, that quiet knowledge that you are not standing on anything. You are held up by speed. The station moves around the planet at roughly 17,000 miles per hour. You don't feel that speed. You only feel the consequences. The constant sunrise and sunset, the way the Earth rotates under you like it doesn't care you're here, the way the station's structure creaks as it goes from sunlight to darkness. You hear those creaks sometimes, soft pops in the metal, like a ship settling in the harbor, except the harbor is vacuum and the ship is your entire life. You are aware of the station as a machine even when you're trying to be calm. Fans, pumps, carbon dioxide scrubbers, temperature loops, power routing, water recycling. Every system is a chain. Every chain has weak links. You don't say that out loud, but you feel it. You feel it in the way you check a panel twice, even if it says nominal. You feel it when a fan pitch changes and your head turns before you can stop it. You feel it in the way you sleep lightly, because somewhere deep inside you know this place is not forgiving. Tonight, everything seems normal. That's what makes the dread so sharp in hindsight. You can't see danger, not at first. There's no storm warning for debris traveling faster than a rifle bullet. There's no smell for a microscopic puncture. There's just routine. And the routine is thick and soothing, and you let it wrap around you because you need it to. You go through the last tasks of the day. You check the schedule. You clean up small things because clutter is a threat. You stow items in their marked places. You wipe down surfaces not because you neat, but because microbial growth is real, and the station is an ecosystem you don't want getting out of control. You log readings. You drink water. You eat something that tastes like it was designed by committee, nutritionally correct, emotionally empty. You tell yourself you'll sleep soon.
Your body is tired, but your mind is still running. That's another orbital problem. Without a normal day-night cycle, your brain can't always find the off switch. You wear an eye mask. You stick to a schedule. You follow the rules, because rules are the closest thing you have to gravity. When you finally move toward your sleeping area, you feel that tiny itch of unease you can't explain, a sense that something is a little too quiet or a little too loud. It might be nothing, it usually is, but you've learned that nothing up here deserves respect. You pass a wall panel and you see a small indicator blinking. Not red, not screaming, just blinking. A reminder, a routine maintenance note. You register it and keep moving. Your brain files it away under tomorrow because you are human and you are tired. You zip yourself into the sleeping bag. You secure your arms so they won't float into your face. You anchor your knees slightly because if your legs drift, they can jerk you awake. You take a last sip of water from a pouch, and the taste is faintly metallic, always faintly metallic, because the station's plumbing has its own signature. You close your eyes. Outside your module, the station keeps working. Pumps circulate coolant. Valves open and close. Computers talk to each other in quiet bursts. The air moves through filters that catch dust made of skin flakes and fabric fibers and tiny crumbs you never see. The station does what it always does. It keeps you alive. And somewhere far below, the world turns without knowing you exist. The first sign that something will go wrong is small enough that you almost miss it. A change in sound. Not a new sound, just a shift. One fan's pitch rises, another falls. It could be load balancing. It could be temperature regulation. It could be nothing. Your sleeping brain takes note anyway, because it has been trained to listen for the station the way sailors listen for their hull. Then you feel a faint vibration through the structure, like someone tapped the outside with a knuckle. Just once. Up here, a single tap can be a warning. You don't get up. You don't call it out. You don't do anything, because there's nothing to do. You are strapped in. You are inside an aluminum shell thinner than most people want to imagine, and you are moving so fast that a speck of debris can punch a hole through your home like it's paper. You drift at the edge of sleep, and the station enters Earth's shadow again. The temperature outside drops hard. The structure contracts. The metal complains softly. That's normal. That's routine. That's the sound you eventually learn to trust. But tonight, mixed into the normal sounds, there is something else starting to form, so faint at first it could be your imagination. A whisper. A thin breath of air through an opening too small for your eyes to find. Your body doesn't know it yet, but it's already responding. Your heart rate lifts. Your muscles tense. A bead of sweat forms at your hairline and floats there, stubborn, refusing to fall. You are in the safest place humans have ever put in orbit, and it is still a place where survival can flip in seconds. The hiss is not loud yet. It's just wrong. And when the alarm finally comes later, when the lights flicker and the numbers start dropping, you will think back to this moment and realize the station tried to tell you, quietly, politely, like it always does. The machine doesn't panic. The machine doesn't scream until it has to. You, on the other hand, are flesh. You are warm, wet, breakable flesh floating inside a metal skeleton that has no mercy for mistakes. You are closing your eyes again, still trying to sleep, still trusting routine, still telling yourself that the tiny changes mean nothing. You are not ready for the moment the station stops feeling like a home and starts feeling like a coffin. You are awake before you mean to be. Not because of an alarm, not because someone called your name. You wake because your body feels slightly off, like a hand shifted you while you were sleeping. Your eyes open behind the mask, and for a moment you don't move. You listen. The station is still alive around you. Fans hum. Air moves. Nothing is screaming yet. That's the first thing you check for without realizing you're doing it. You peel the mask away and blink. Your vision swims, slow to focus. Your mouth tastes stale, like recycled air and old coffee. You swallow and feel your throat complain. Dry again. Always dry. You flex your fingers and they feel thick, clumsy, like they belong to someone else. Microgravity does that. Blood shifts, fluids rise, your face stays puffy no matter how many weeks you've been up here. You float there for a few seconds longer than you should, staring at the fabric wall inches from your nose. There's a faint vibration under everything. Not new, just noticeable now that you're paying attention. You tell yourself it's attitude control thrusters adjusting the station's orientation. You felt that before. Everyone has. Still, something pulls at you. You unzip the bag and drift out, careful not to kick off too hard. You snag a handrail and stop yourself. Your body wants to move fast now, but there's no reason to. Not yet. You do a quick mental check. No alarms, no flashing red, no urgent messages blinking on the nearest screen. The station is, officially, fine. That word, fine, has a lot of weight up here. You push yourself down the module, moving toward the cupola again without consciously deciding to. It's where you go when you're unsettled. It's where you go when you need to remind yourself that the world still exists. The station's interior lights are dimmed for the crew's night cycle, casting long shadows that don't behave the way shadows should. Without gravity, everything feels slightly wrong, even when it's normal. You pass panels labeled in block letters: power, thermal, life support. You know what's behind most of them. You know which ones run hot, which ones hum louder, which ones you don't touch unless mission control tells you to. The station is familiar now, in the way a complicated machine becomes familiar. Not friendly, but predictable if you respect it. The cupola hatch is open. You pull yourself through and settle in again, anchoring yourself with practiced movements. The windows are dark at first. The Earth is still on the far side of the planet, hidden by bulk and shadow. For a moment, all you see is your own reflection, faint and warped in the glass. Your face looks pale, older. The lighting up here is unforgiving. Then the Earth rolls into view. It doesn't rush. It never does. The planet arrives the same way it always does, slow and steady, like it knows you'll wait. First, a thin curve of blue, almost unreal. Then darkness gives way to detail, cloud tops glowing faintly, a dim smear of light where the sun is about to rise somewhere far below. You let your breathing slow as you watch. This part always works, eventually.
You track the movement without moving your head. The station is doing the work for you, carrying you along its orbit. You feel weightless, but you're not free. You are locked into a path by speed and math and fuel budgets decided years before you ever boarded. As the planet turns, city lights appear. They're not as bright as people imagine, not from this height. They're soft, like embers under ash, but there are so many of them. Clusters and threads and scattered points where humans decided to gather and stay. Roads trace themselves faintly. Coastlines glow. Rivers catch the light like veins. You think, not for the first time, how quiet it looks. Down there, people are awake.
People are arguing, laughing, driving, sleeping, dying. Wars are happening. Birthdays are happening. None of it reaches you. Up here, there is no sound from Earth, no echo, no vibration, just light. The silence is heavy. You rest your forehead lightly against the glass, careful not to push too hard. The window feels cool through your hair. The station's temperature control keeps the interior livable, but the cold of space presses in from every direction. The glass is thick, layered, designed to stop impacts from debris smaller than a grain of rice moving faster than most bullets. Designed, not guaranteed. You pull back and scan the horizon line, watching the sun creep closer. Dawn happens fast in orbit. One moment it's night, the next the planet is burning blue and white and gold. The atmosphere flares, a thin, fragile skin holding everything together. You've seen this dozens of times, but it still tightens something in your chest. That thin line is why Earth survives. You glance back inside the station, just for a second. Habit. You check that the lights are still steady. They are. You check that the fans sound normal. They do. You check the small screen mounted near the cupola that shows environmental status. Oxygen partial pressure nominal. Carbon dioxide nominal. Cabin pressure stable. Stable. You let your shoulders relax. This is where you tell yourself the unease was nothing. A bad sleep cycle, too much caffeine earlier. Your brain looking for problems because that's what it was trained to do. You're good at this. You wouldn't have made it here if you weren't. You've survived launch. You've survived docking. You've survived months of living inside a metal tube without losing your mind. You float there, watching Earth slide by, and let time stretch. Up here, time is strange. You circle the planet every 90 minutes. Sunrises stack up. Days lose their meaning. You live by schedules uploaded from the ground, by alarms that tell you when to work, when to eat, when to sleep. Without them, you drift, literally and mentally. The station creaks again, faint but noticeable. You feel it through your anchored leg. Expansion, contraction, sunlight warming one side, shadow freezing the other. It's normal, you know that. Still, you find yourself holding your breath until it passes. You exhale slowly. The earth below is fully lit now. Clouds glow bright white. Ocean deepens to a rich blue that looks almost fake through the glass. You can't see borders. You can't see lines humans draw. Just land and water and weather. You think about how thin the walls around you are, how everything keeping you alive, air, pressure, warmth, is artificial. You think about how quickly it would all go if something failed catastrophically. You don't dwell on it. Dwelling is dangerous, but you acknowledge it because denial is worse. You check the status screen again. Still nominal. You stay in the cupola longer than planned. No one stops you. No one says anything. The station doesn't care where you are as long as you're not in the way. You drift slightly. Correct yourself. Drift again. Sweat beads form on your skin and float until they touch fabric or glass and smear out. You wipe your forehead with the back of your hand, and the moisture clings there, refusing to fall. Your stomach tightens with a low, dull hunger. You ate earlier, but appetite is unreliable in orbit. Sometimes you forget to eat. Sometimes you can't stop thinking about food. You push the thought away. There will be time later. A small indicator light near the screen blinks once. You notice it this time. It's not an alarm. It's not red. It's a soft amber blink that could mean a dozen things. Data refresh, sensor recalibration, minor variance. You stare at it for a second longer than necessary, then pull yourself closer to read the fine print. Pressure sensor A, recalibrating. You feel a flicker of irritation. Sensors drift, they always do. Temperature changes, radiation, age. The system corrects itself constantly. This is routine. You've seen it before. You tell yourself that as you look away. Still, your jaw tightens. You push off the handrail and drift back out of the cupola, pulling yourself along the tunnel. The station feels slightly different now that you've noticed the light. Not worse, just present. You are aware of every sound again: the fans, the faint whine of electronics, the soft thump of something shifting as the station adjusts its orientation. You pass the same panel you noticed earlier, the one blinking quietly. It's still blinking, same rhythm, same color. You hover in front of it for a moment, reading the label: Environmental Monitoring Subsystem. You consider opening it, just to look, just to reassure yourself, but that's how you create problems where there are none. Unnecessary actions lead to mistakes. Mistakes up here don't forgive.
You head toward the galley to grab water. The pouch feels light when you squeeze it. You drain it faster than you meant to. The water tastes faintly of iodine and metal and plastic. You don't mind. It's wet. That's enough. You stow the empty pouch, Velcro ripping softly as it sticks. As you turn, you feel it again. That faint vibration. Stronger this time. A low-frequency shiver that runs through the structure and into your bones. It lasts maybe half a second, maybe less. It's gone before you can place it. You freeze. Your heart rate ticks up. You don't move. You listen. Nothing follows. No alarm, no new sound. The station settles back into its baseline hum like nothing happened. Your breathing sounds too loud in your own ears. You tell yourself it was attitude adjustment, thrusters firing briefly to maintain orientation. That happens. It has to happen. The station is not static. It's constantly correcting. You tell yourself this is fine. You float there for another moment, then push off toward your workstation. You pull up a display, fingers dancing over the controls with muscle memory you earned the hard way. You bring up system trends, pressure over time, flat, stable, temperature curves smooth, oxygen levels steady. There, proof. You let out a breath you didn't realize you were holding. The Earth is on the other side of the station now. You can't see it, just metal walls, wires, panels, labels. The inside of a machine that never shuts off. You realize how quickly the view can vanish, how easily you can be sealed away from the planet without noticing. You glance at the clock. Still time before the next scheduled task. You should try to sleep again. You hesitate, then decide to rest instead. Sleep will come when it comes. You push back toward your sleeping area, slower now. Your body feels heavy in a way that has nothing to do with gravity. A pressure behind your eyes, a tension in your neck. You attribute it to stress, to fatigue, to being human in a place that doesn't care. You zip yourself back into the bag, anchor your arms, adjust your position until your body stops drifting. The station hums around you, constant and mechanical, like a giant animal breathing in its sleep. You close your eyes. The image of Earth lingers behind your eyelids. Lights, clouds, that thin blue line. You think about how far away it really is, despite how close it looks. About how no one down there would feel anything if the station vanished tonight. About how fragile this place is, no matter how much engineering went into it. Somewhere, metal contracts again as the station slides deeper into shadow. And somewhere, unseen, something has already changed.
You wake again without opening your eyes. Not fully, not sharply, just enough that your brain starts counting before you tell it to. Fan noise steady, airflow present, no alarms, no shouting lights. You lie still in the sleeping bag, arms lightly restrained, letting the station announce itself through vibration and sound. This is how you've learned to wake up here, by listening first, by letting the machine tell you whether the day has started wrong. It hasn't, not officially. You open your eyes and stare at the fabric wall inches from your face. The material is scuffed where boots and tools have brushed it over months. A faint stain marks a spot where someone spilled coffee that never really washed out. Little human fingerprints inside a place that doesn't forgive carelessness. You blink slowly, feeling the pressure behind your eyes ease just a little. Your mouth is dry enough that your tongue feels thick. You swallow, and it scratches on the way down. You don't bother cursing it. Dryness is baseline now.
You flex your toes inside the bag and feel nothing push back. Your legs float, untethered, reminding you that your body is not in charge here. You are borrowing this environment, and it can take the loan back any time. You unzip the bag and drift free, moving carefully so you don't collide with the wall. You grab the nearest handrail, fingers wrapping around the cool metal. The station feels solid under your grip, and for a second, that's enough. Solid is comforting. Solid is familiar. Solid is a lie, but it's a useful one. You check the clock. The schedule says it's time to work. Routine saves lives. That's not a slogan up here. It's physics. Routine keeps your brain from spiraling, keeps you from inventing problems, keeps you from freezing when something real happens. You push off and head toward your workstation, movements smooth and practiced. You don't rush. You don't float lazily either. You move with purpose, because purpose keeps fear quiet. The workstation screen comes alive as you approach. You log in, fingers moving automatically, each input muscle memory drilled into you over years of training. The interface is ugly in a functional way. Blocky fonts, color codes, dense data fields. It isn't designed to inspire. It's designed to be read correctly when you're tired, scared, or shaking. You pull up the morning checklist. Environmental systems first, always first. Cabin pressure steady. Oxygen partial pressure within limits. Carbon dioxide scrubbers cycling normally. Humidity low but acceptable. Temperature stable across modules. You read each line slowly, not trusting green check marks alone. Numbers matter. Trends matter. You scroll back through the last few hours, scanning for drift. Nothing obvious. Your shoulders loosen a fraction. You don't smile. Smiling feels premature. You move on to power systems. Solar arrays producing nominal output, batteries charged, load balanced, no unexpected spikes. The station is drinking sunlight and turning it into survival like it's supposed to. You think about the panels spread out like wings, fragile and massive at the same time, catching photons that left the sun 8 minutes ago. You are alive on borrowed energy from a star. Thermal control next. Radiators dumping heat into space, coolant loops circulating, no hotspots flagged. You remember the feel of one of those radiator panels during training, cold enough to steal heat from your glove in seconds. Space doesn't cool you gently. It strips heat away without apology. You pause at the environmental trend graph again. The pressure line is flat, maybe too flat. That thought flickers through your mind before you can stop it. You dismiss it immediately. Flat is good. Flat is stable. You are not here to invent ghosts. You log the readings, time-stamped, filed, routine complete. You push away from the workstation and head for the galley. Breakfast is utilitarian, nutrition compressed into packets and bars designed to keep your muscles from wasting away. You grab a pouch, secure it to the table with Velcro, and cut it open. The smell is faint, almost non-existent. Up here, your sense of smell is dulled by fluid shifts in your head. Food becomes texture and temperature more than flavor. You squeeze the pouch and eat slowly, forcing yourself to finish even though you don't want to. Calories are not optional in orbit. You drink water after, chasing the dryness away for a few minutes at least. The pouch collapses as you drain it, a sad little thing that reminds you how little water there really is. Every drop you drink was someone else's sweat, breath, or urine not that long ago. The system works. You don't dwell on it. As you stow the empty packaging, you notice the vibration again. It's subtle, a low tremor that runs through the handrail into your palm. You freeze, fingers tightening. You wait for it to repeat. It doesn't. The station settles back into its steady hum. You tell yourself you're tired. You tell yourself you're hyper-aware because you woke up uneasy. You tell yourself the station is full of moving parts and you can't catalog every sensation without losing your mind. Still, your jaw clenches. You float toward the next task, moving through a module where cables snake along the walls like exposed veins. The lighting here is harsher, brighter. It throws sharp shadows that make the space feel narrower than it is.
You catch your reflection in a metal panel, eyes a little too wide, face pale under artificial light. You look like someone who hasn't slept well. You reach a panel and begin a routine inspection. Visual checks, no loose cables, no condensation where it shouldn't be, no smell of overheating electronics. You run your fingers lightly along a seam, feeling for warmth that would suggest trouble. It feels normal. You note it and move on.
This is the part of the job people don't see. Not the launches, not the spacewalks, just hours of careful attention to systems that mostly work until they don't. You are here to catch the don't early, when it's still fixable. You float past a small window and glance out without stopping. Earth is there again, different angle now, a different patch of land sliding by. You don't linger. The view can wait. The checklist cannot. You hear a faint click behind you. You turn slowly, heart rate jumping before your brain can intervene. The sound doesn't repeat. You scan the module. Nothing out of place. No lights blinking urgently. No panels ajar. The station is still doing what it's supposed to do. You exhale through your nose. This is how it gets you, you think. Not with drama. With small things that stack up until your nerves are raw. You continue on, completing tasks with mechanical precision. You check data. You log notes. You respond to a low-priority message from Mission Control, routine acknowledgments sent across a gulf of space with a delay that reminds you how far away help really is. Even when everything is working, you are alone up here in a way no one on Earth ever truly is. You drift toward a storage area to retrieve equipment for later. As you pull a bag free, a loose strap flutters in the airflow. You watch it sway back and forth, hypnotic, and for a moment you imagine the air moving faster than it should. You snap out of it and secure the strap, annoyed at yourself. Your body feels slightly off, not sick, not injured, just tight. Your chest feels constricted, like the air is thicker than it should be. You take a deeper breath and feel your lungs fill normally. You hold it, then exhale. Everything works. You are not suffocating. You tell yourself this firmly. You glance at the environmental display mounted nearby. Still green, still nominal. Good. You move on. Time stretches. Tasks blur together. You fall into the rhythm that keeps you sane. Check, log, move, repeat. The station becomes a series of handholds and panels and screens, each one familiar enough that you don't have to think about it consciously. This is where you're safest, mentally, in the work. Then the station creaks. This time, it's louder. A sharp metallic pop that echoes through the structure. Not violent, not catastrophic, just unmistakable. You freeze mid-motion, one hand gripping a rail, legs floating free behind you. Your breath catches. The sound hangs in the air longer than it should, vibrating through the metal and into your bones. Thermal contraction, you tell yourself immediately. Transition from sunlight to shadow. Normal. You've heard it before. But your heart doesn't slow. You wait, count silently. 1, 2, 3. Nothing follows. You swallow and force yourself to continue moving, though your muscles feel tight. You bring up a display again, this time without pretending it's routine. You check pressure first. The number stares back at you, calm and steady. You check the trend.
Still flat. Too flat, that thought whispers again. You shake your head slightly, as if you can dislodge it. Flat means stable. Flat means good. You are not smarter than the sensors. You are not going to second-guess decades of engineering because you feel uneasy. You log another note and close the display. The smell hits you as you move into the next module. It's faint, almost imagined, a sharpness under the usual recycled air scent, like hot dust, like something electrical that's been stressed but hasn't failed. You stop and inhale carefully through your nose. The smell is still there, barely. You follow it instinctively, drifting a meter farther in. It fades. You stand there, suspended, feeling foolish. Electronics run hot. Odors move strangely in microgravity, pooling and dispersing in unpredictable ways. You could be smelling something from an entirely different part of the station. You make a note to mention it in the next routine report. Nothing more. Your stomach growls, low and insistent. Hunger again. You ignore it, this time later. As you turn away, your elbow brushes a wall panel and you feel a vibration through it, like a distant tremor. You pull your arm back and stare at the panel. It looks the same as it always has. You press your palm flat against it, feeling. The vibration is gone. Your pulse is up now, noticeably. You can feel it in your neck, in your fingertips. You take another deep breath and let it out slowly, counting again. Panic solves nothing. Panic kills. You think about drills, about training scenarios where alarms blare and instructors watch your response for any sign of hesitation. You think about how calm you felt in those simulations, how clean everything was, how controlled. Real life doesn't feel like that. Real life feels messy and uncertain and full of half signals your brain doesn't know what to do with. You complete the last item on your checklist and float back toward your sleeping area, telling yourself you'll rest for a bit before the next scheduled task. Rest is part of the job. Fatigue leads to mistakes. You zip yourself into the bag again, anchoring your arms, adjusting your position. The station hums around you, unchanged. You close your eyes and focus on your breathing, on the familiar sounds, on the idea that everything is fine because the data says it is. Somewhere deep in the station, a system compensates for something you cannot see. A valve adjusts, a sensor recalibrates. Air moves where it didn't before. You are following the rules. You are doing everything right. And that, more than anything, is what makes the coming failure so dangerous. You are mid-motion when the alarm finally decides to exist. Not loud at first, not the screaming siren people imagine. It starts as a clipped tone, flat and mechanical, layered awkwardly over the usual hum of fans. Your brain doesn't register danger immediately. It registers anomaly, something new where nothing new should be. You stop moving. Your body goes still before your thoughts do, one hand hooked around a rail, legs drifting behind you like they forgot what they were attached to. The tone repeats. Once, twice, a third time. Each pulse digs a little deeper into your chest. Then the lights flicker, just a fraction of a second, long enough to notice, long enough to make your stomach drop. The station doesn't lose power, it stumbles like someone tripped while carrying a fragile load. Emergency strips glow faintly, then the main lights stabilize. The tone sharpens, gains urgency, and the screen nearest you changes without being asked. Cabin pressure warning. Your breath catches hard enough that it hurts. You push yourself toward the display, movements suddenly fast and sloppy. Training snaps into place even as adrenaline floods your system. You grab the handrail, stop yourself from overshooting, and plant your feet where they don't need to be because instinct doesn't care about gravity. The pressure number is dropping. Not plunging, not catastrophic, dropping in a slow, deliberate line that makes your skin crawl. The trend graph tells the story your eyes don't want to believe. This isn't sensor drift. This isn't recalibration. This is air leaving the station. Your world is bleeding into space. The alarm escalates. Another tone layers in, higher pitched, cutting through everything. You feel it in your teeth. You feel it behind your eyes. The station feels suddenly louder, as if every fan and pump decided to announce its presence at once. You taste metal. Your mouth goes dry instantly, like your body already knows what's coming. You swallow, and it does nothing. You force yourself to breathe shallow, controlled, because hyperventilating will only speed the loss. You don't think about oxygen yet. You think about containment. Find the leak. You shove off the rail and move down the module faster than you ever should, but you can't help it. Panic presses against your ribs like a physical thing. You grab handholds too hard, knuckles whitening, nails biting into gloves you aren't wearing. A loose strap flutters wildly now, dancing in the airflow that is no longer theoretical. You feel it brush your cheek. Air is moving. Your heart slams harder.
You follow the sensation instinctively, letting your body lead where your brain is still catching up. You move toward the sensation of flow, toward the invisible pull tugging at your skin and clothing. The station has developed a direction that should never happen. You round a corner and hear it clearly for the first time. The hiss. It's sharp, fast, wet, not like a gentle leak, like a puncture wound struggling to stay open. It fills the module, bouncing off metal and plastic, making it impossible to tell exactly where it's coming from. The sound crawls up your spine and settles there, cold and intimate. You clamp your jaw shut to stop your teeth from chattering. Your eyes dart to the pressure display again, still dropping, faster now. You don't have time to be scared. You have time to act. You reach for the emergency kit mounted on the wall, fingers shaking as you pop it open. Inside, patches, sealant, tools you practiced with in controlled environments where failure was hypothetical. You rip a patch free and shove it into a pocket that doesn't exist. Fumble, curse silently, then jam it against your chest with one hand while you scan the module. You look for the obvious signs. Frost forming where escaping air cools rapidly, debris fluttering toward a point, condensation crawling along a seam. Your eyes burn from staring too hard. There, near a panel seam, something is wrong. A faint cloud, barely visible, like breath in cold air. It blooms and vanishes again, synchronized with the hiss. Your stomach drops. That's it. You push toward it, fighting the pull of escaping air that tugs at your limbs, subtle but undeniable. You plant one hand on the wall and feel the vibration through it, the station trembling as it tries to compensate. The hole is small, too small to see clearly, but deadly all the same. Smaller is worse, smaller is harder to seal. You slam the patch over the area, pressing hard, smearing sealant blindly. The hiss changes pitch for half a second, and hope spikes so sharply it hurts. Then the sound comes back, louder. Your patch peels away slightly, sealant stretching like spit between metal and fabric. You curse again, breath coming faster now despite your efforts. You press harder, forearm braced, muscles screaming as if strength alone can solve physics. The pressure drop accelerates. The alarm changes again, harsher now, stripping away any remaining illusion of control. You feel a faint pressure in your ears, a fullness that shouldn't be there. Your sinuses protest. Your body is already reacting, already trying to equalize against an environment that is actively betraying you. You think about the masks. You should grab a mask. You don't. You can't leave the leak unattended. Every second counts. You force yourself to slow your breathing again, to keep your head clear. Training floods back in fragments. Isolate module. Close hatches. Reduce volume. Buy time. You look around wildly, orienting yourself. Which hatches are closest? Which modules can be sealed without trapping someone? Your brain feels thick, sluggish, like it's pushing through syrup. Adrenaline helps and hurts at the same time. You shove off and propel yourself toward the nearest hatch, slamming into it harder than you mean to. You grab the handle and twist, muscles straining. The mechanism resists for a terrifying fraction of a second, then moves. The hatch swings shut with a hollow clang that echoes through your chest. The hiss changes again. Not gone, but different. Slightly quieter, slightly more focused. The pressure drop slows. You exhale a broken breath. You are sealed into a smaller section of the station now. Fewer places to search, less air to lose. You check the pressure display again, hands shaking so badly you almost miss the numbers. Still dropping. Slower. Not enough. You feel lightheaded. You shake your head violently, trying to clear it. This is not hypoxia yet, you tell yourself. This is adrenaline, fear, focus. You can't afford confusion. You drift back to the leak, eyes narrowed, scanning for frost. There, thin white crystals are forming along the edge of a panel seam now, crawling outward like veins. You slam the patch back over it, layering sealant thickly this time, pressing until your arms ache. You hold it there, teeth clenched, counting in your head because you need something solid to hold on to. 1, 2, 3. The hiss drops to a whisper. 4, 5.
Your ears pop painfully. You swallow hard, jaw working, trying to equalize. Your vision tunnels for a moment, dark creeping in from the edges. You force your eyes open wider, focusing on the panel, on the frost melting under your patch. 6, 7. The alarm downgrades slightly. The pitch lowers. It's still there, still screaming urgency, but it's no longer escalating. That matters. That means something changed. You check the pressure display without moving your arm. The line is flattening.
Not rising, but flattening. You sag against the wall, still holding the patch in place, muscles trembling. Sweat beads burst free from your skin and float around your face, sticking to your eyelashes and cheeks. You don't wipe them away. You don't dare move. You stay like that for a long time. Seconds stretch into something that feels like minutes. The station creaks softly around you, adjusting to the new reality. Pumps whine differently. Fans change pitch. Somewhere, a computer is recalculating how to keep you alive with what's left. Your breathing steadies, slow and shallow. Your heart still pounds, but it's no longer trying to escape your chest. You feel the aftershocks of fear rolling through you, leaving weakness in their wake. When you finally dare to pull your hand away, the patch holds. The hiss is gone. The silence that replaces it is worse. You float there, staring at the sealed seam, waiting for the sound to come back. It doesn't. The alarm continues, but it's shifted into a sustained warning rather than an acute scream. You know that tone. It means unresolved danger. It means the situation is stable enough not to kill you immediately, but far from safe. You check the pressure again. Lower than nominal. Stable. Too low for comfort, high enough to survive. For now. You push off slowly, movements cautious, like the station might shatter if you touch it wrong. You head toward the mask locker at last, lungs burning slightly now, a subtle ache behind your eyes that wasn't there before. You grab a mask and pull it over your face, securing the straps with hands that feel clumsy and far away. The first breath through the mask is sharp and cold. It tastes like rubber and clean oxygen and fear. Your chest expands more easily. Your head clears just a fraction, enough to think again. You float back to the display, bringing up system summaries. The station is wounded. That much is clear. One module isolated, pressure compromised, oxygen reserves now finite in a way they weren't an hour ago. Every calculation has shifted. You think about how close this came to being worse. You think about how small the hole was. You think about how you almost ignored the signs. Your gaze drifts toward the sealed hatch. Beyond it, the rest of the station continues on its orbit, ignorant of how close it came to losing you. Beyond that, Earth spins, full of air you cannot reach. Your hands start to shake again, this time from delayed shock. You curl your fingers into fists and force them to still. You log the incident mechanically, fingers moving on autopilot. Micrometeoroid strike suspected. Temporary seal applied. Module isolated. Pressure stabilized below nominal. Temporary. That word sits heavy in your mind. You float back from the console and brace yourself against a handrail, letting the station's hum wash over you. The alarm continues, steady and unforgiving, a reminder that this night is no longer routine, that something fundamental has broken. You are alive, but the station is no longer whole. And as you hang there in the artificial calm after disaster, you realize this was only the first failure, the one that announces the others.
You don't feel hunger right away. At first, what you feel is accounting. You float in front of the display, mask still tight against your face, and you count. Oxygen partial pressure, remaining reserves, scrubber efficiency, power draw, volume of the sealed module. You run the numbers again because the first time feels unreal, like reading someone else's problem set. The station is alive, but it is living lean now. The margin you used to take for granted has been shaved down to something thin and sharp. You are breathing borrowed time. The alarm has settled into its new rhythm, a steady reminder rather than a scream. It's worse this way.
A scream demands action. This sound just sits there, humming under everything, telling you that the situation is unresolved and will remain unresolved until something changes or something ends. You pull the mask off eventually, not because it's safe, but because you have to ration even that. The air feels different against your skin now. Not thinner exactly, just wrong. You breathe slowly, deliberately, counting again. In through the nose, out through the mouth. The station smells sharper, like the filters are working harder to keep up. Your head aches faintly. You push off and move through the reduced volume of your world, slower now. Every movement feels heavier, even without gravity. Adrenaline is gone, burned off in the first frantic minutes after the breach. What's left is fatigue and the creeping awareness that this isn't over. Temporary seal, reduced pressure, isolated module. Words that sound stable until you think about what they really mean. Temporary means it will fail again. You reach the galley out of habit and stop when you see it. The food storage. Half of it is on the other side of the sealed hatch. The realization lands quietly, but it hits harder than the alarm ever did. You stare at the straps and containers you can still reach, inventorying without touching. Pouches, bars. A few days' worth if you're careful, less if you're not. You feel your stomach tighten, not with hunger yet, but with something colder. You check the water next. Same problem. You feel stupid for not thinking of it earlier, but disasters never announce all their consequences at once. They let them unfold. You do the math again, slower this time. Reduced intake, reduced activity, stretch it out. You can make this last, if nothing else goes wrong. That thought feels dangerous, so you don't finish it.
You secure what supplies you can, strapping them down with more care than necessary. Each pouch feels heavier now that it has a number attached to it. Each sip of water is a future decision. You tell yourself you'll eat later. Not now, not yet. Your body doesn't need it immediately. That's still true. You drift back to the workstation and bring up the comm panel. You send an update, stripped of emotion, just data. Pressure stabilized below nominal. Temporary seal holding. Module isolated. Resource access limited. You don't speculate. You don't dramatize. You let mission control read between the lines. The reply doesn't come right away. You knew it wouldn't. Signal delay stretches seconds into minutes. You sit there, anchored loosely, staring at the screen while the station hums around you. The alarm tone seeps into your thoughts until you can't tell where it ends and your pulse begins. Your mouth is dry again. You resist the urge to drink. Time loses its shape. Without the full schedule, without the usual flow of tasks, the hours smear together. You fill them with checks that border on obsessive. You recheck the seal. You watch the pressure line. You listen to the station, cataloging every sound. You convince yourself you hear the hiss again, twice, only to realize it's your own breathing or a fan shifting load. Each false alarm costs you something. By the time the first real hunger pang arrives, it feels almost like relief, something simple, something familiar. Your stomach contracts sharply, then settles into a low ache. You ignore it at first, telling yourself you felt worse, that this is manageable. Hunger on Earth is an inconvenience. Hunger here is a variable. You let it sit. An hour later, it's harder to ignore. Your thoughts snag on images of food without your permission. Not the packets you have, real food. Texture, weight, the way bread pulls apart under your fingers. You catch yourself staring at a Velcro patch on the wall, imagining it's something you could chew. That scares you enough to force action. You open one pouch, just one. You eat slowly, methodically, squeezing the paste-like contents into your mouth and swallowing with effort. It tastes like nothing and everything at the same time. You hate it, and you savor it. When it's gone,
You fold the empty pouch carefully and stow it, as if treating it with respect will somehow make the calories last longer. You don't drink water afterward. You regret that decision within minutes. The dryness comes back stronger, scratching at your throat, making you cough once before you can stop yourself. The sound is loud in the confined space. You wince, irrationally worried that noise might matter. You take one small sip, barely enough to coat your mouth, and force yourself to stop.
You are already rationing. The reply from Mission Control finally comes through. It's calm, professional, delayed by the speed of light and filtered through layers of procedure. They acknowledge the breach. They confirm your actions. They tell you their working options. They don't promise anything yet. You read the message 3 times. Working options means nothing is ready. You send back another update, answering questions, providing more numbers. Your fingers feel clumsy on the controls. The slight headache behind your eyes has grown into a constant pressure. You stretch your neck trying to ease it and feel a wave of dizziness roll through you. It passes, but it leaves you unsettled. You check oxygen levels again. Still stable. Still lower than before. Good enough. You float to the sealed hatch and rest your palm against it. The metal is cool, solid. Beyond it is the rest of the station, quiet and unreachable. Beyond that, vacuum. You imagine the thin patch you pressed into place, holding back everything that wants to escape. You imagine it failing while you sleep. You decide not to sleep. Not yet. You keep yourself busy instead, cleaning, organizing, anything to burn time without burning calories. You move slowly, deliberately, minimizing exertion. Even so, sweat beads up on your skin, floating until it sticks to fabric or your own face. You wipe it away and feel tired in a way that sleep won't fix. The hunger sharpens again, gnawing now rather than aching. It makes you irritable, then strangely calm. Your thoughts narrow. The station becomes everything. You stop thinking about Earth except as an abstract concept. Air, food, gravity, things you don't have. When you finally lie back in your sleeping bag, anchoring yourself loosely, you don't expect to sleep. You do anyway. It's shallow and broken. You dream of pressure gauges dropping, of trying to breathe through cloth, of eating something that turns to dust in your mouth. You wake with a start, heart racing, maskless and gasping until you force yourself to slow down. The alarm is still there. The pressure is still low. The seal is still holding. You are still hungry. You check the time and realize another orbit has passed. Earth has seen another sunrise without you. You feel detached from that fact, like it belongs to someone else's life. Up here, time is measured in resources, not hours. You eat again, smaller portion this time. Your stomach protests, then settles into a dull, constant presence. You drink a little water and feel almost guilty as it slides down your throat. You cap the pouch and secure it with shaking hands. Your body feels weaker now, not dramatically, just enough that you notice. Movements require more intention. Holding yourself in place makes your muscles tremble slightly. You test your grip on a handrail and feel how quickly fatigue creeps in. This is the beginning. You know it, even if you don't say it out loud. Hunger is patient. It doesn't rush. It erodes. It turns simple tasks into negotiations. It turns thoughts inward. You catch yourself snapping mentally at nothing, then laughing softly at how thin your nerves have become. You don't like the sound of your own laughter. Another message comes in. More updates, more calculations. Rescue is discussed in conditional language. Windows, orbits, risks. Nothing certain. You understand. Space doesn't care about intentions.
You respond with what they need, keeping your words clipped. You don't tell them how tired you are. You don't tell them how the hunger is already changing the way you think. That's not useful data. You float back from the console and close your eyes for a moment, breathing slowly. The station hums. The alarm hums. Your stomach hums.
You think about your crewmates, sealed off in other sections, dealing with their own versions of this. You wonder how they're doing. You don't call out. Calms are precious. Silence is safer. The headache grows worse. Light feels harsh now, even dimmed. You squint and adjust the settings, then feel foolish for spending energy on comfort. You let it be. Another hour, maybe 2. It's hard to tell. Your thoughts start to loop. Food, air, pressure, patch, food. You shake your head trying to clear it and feel a wave of nausea that makes you grip the handrail hard. It passes, but it leaves your hands tingling. You are still alive. You repeat that to yourself like a mantra. Alive means options. Alive means time. But hunger doesn't care about optimism. It sits with you, constant and quiet. A reminder that survival is no longer abstract. It's measurable. It's limited. And it's already slipping through your fingers, one careful ration at a time. You stop trusting your senses before you realize that's what you're doing. It starts small, harmless enough that you can pretend it's nothing. A sound you don't recognize slips through the station's constant hum, too soft to be an alarm, too distinct to be background noise. You lift your head, breath held, listening hard. The sound is gone. You wait. Nothing follows. You tell yourself it was a fan shifting load, metal flexing, the station settling into a new thermal balance. You tell yourself that a lot now. Your body feels lighter and heavier at the same time. Muscles weak, joints stiff. Hunger has moved past sharp pain and into something dull and constant, a presence that never leaves. It has changed the way you think. Your thoughts arrive slower, and when they do, they don't always line up the way they should. You notice this. That scares you more than the hunger itself. You float in front of the workstation and stare at the screen without touching it. The numbers blur together if you don't concentrate. You force your eyes to track each line, reading aloud in your head to keep focus. Pressure stable. Oxygen stable. Stable has become a fragile word, one you don't trust but cling to anyway. Your mouth is dry again. You lick your lips and feel the cracks. You don't drink. That's when you hear it again. This time it sounds like a voice. Not loud, not clear, just the shape of speech layered into the background noise, like someone talking from the next room. Your spine tightens instantly. You hold your breath and strain to listen, heart hammering as adrenaline spikes without permission. The sound resolves into nothing. Just fans, just pumps, just the station. You laugh once under your breath, short and humorless. Of course you're hearing things. You're underfed, underslept, stressed, breathing air that's thinner than it should be. Your brain is doing what brains do when they're pushed too far. You rub your face with both hands and feel how hollow your cheeks have become. You check the time. Another orbit gone. Another sunrise you didn't see. The station feels quieter now, even though nothing's changed. Or maybe it's just you. You're more aware of the empty spaces, the long tunnels of metal and cable that stretch away from you. You are alone in this section, sealed off, the rest of the crew reduced to voices on delayed messages. You haven't heard from them in a while. That's normal. Comms are scheduled. Still, the silence presses in.
You push away from the workstation and drift toward the sealed hatch again. You rest your forehead against it, eyes closed, feeling the faint vibration of life on the other side. The metal is cool, solid. You imagine voices beyond it, movement, tools clinking, someone clearing their throat. You almost answer before you realize no one said anything. Your eyes snap open. Your heart rate spikes, sharp and sudden. You pull back from the hatch and stare at it, breathing shallow. The station hums. The alarm hums. No voices. You are alone. You float back, embarrassed at yourself, even though no one is watching. You shake your head hard, trying to reset. This is exactly what they warned you about in training. Sensory deprivation, isolation, hunger, your mind filling in gaps because it hates emptiness. You remind yourself of the rule. If it's not on a screen, it's not real. You cling to that. Hours blur. You move slowly, conserving energy, checking the seal again, then again. It holds. The frost hasn't returned. The pressure line stays flat. You sit anchored near the wall, knees tucked slightly, arms folded in a position that feels almost like sitting. Your stomach cramps occasionally, sharp flashes that make you wince. You ignore them. You close your eyes for what you tell yourself will be just a moment. When you open them, the station looks wrong. Not broken, not damaged, just altered. The lighting feels harsher, shadows deeper. The walls seem farther away than they should be. You blink hard, and everything snaps back into place. Your heart is pounding. You don't remember falling asleep. That's bad. You check the clock. You've lost time. Not much, but enough. You don't know if you slept or drifted or just stared into nothing long enough for your brain to give up tracking minutes. You feel disoriented, like you woke up in the wrong room. You hear footsteps. Clear this time. Soft thuds, rhythmic, unmistakably human. Your breath catches painfully in your chest. You twist, scanning the module, every nerve screaming alert. The sound comes from behind you, closer than it should be. You open your mouth to call out. Nothing comes. The footsteps stop. The silence that follows is absolute. Even the fans seem quieter, though you know they aren't. Your ears ring faintly. You swallow hard and taste metal again. You force yourself to move, slow and controlled, turning until you face the empty module. No one is there. No shadows, no movement, just equipment strapped to walls and the long curve of the station disappearing around a corner. You squeeze your eyes shut and press your fingers into your temples until you see stars. When you open them again, the module looks normal. You float there, shaking. This is how it starts, you think. This is how you lose control without realizing it. You try to remember the protocols for this situation. Hydration, nutrition, sleep, social contact. You laugh again, softer this time, because all of those things are limited or impossible.
You check the comm panel, half expecting to see a message that explains everything. There is nothing new, just the last update from Mission Control, hours old. You consider sending a message, telling them you're hearing things, losing time, but you stop yourself. That won't help. It won't change the situation. It might only complicate decisions they're already struggling with. You decide to eat, not because you want to, but because you need to anchor yourself to something physical. You open another pouch, hands trembling more than before. You eat slowly, forcing each swallow, focusing on the sensation, texture, temperature, the act of chewing. You drink a small amount of water afterward and feel it spread through you like relief and guilt combined. For a little while, it helps. Your thoughts sharpen slightly, the edges smooth out. You feel almost normal, if you don't think too hard about the circumstances. You log the intake, numbers written down because memory is no longer reliable. Then the voices come back. This time, they don't sound like strangers. They sound like Mission Control. Not a full transmission, just fragments, a familiar cadence, a phrase you've heard 100 times in training. You freeze, every muscle locking. You stare at the comm panel, waiting for it to light up. It doesn't. The voice continues anyway, calm and reassuring, telling you to stay put, to breathe, to hold on. It sounds close, like it's coming from inside the walls. Tears sting your eyes before you can stop them. The urge to answer is overwhelming, to respond, to not be alone. You bite down hard on your lip and taste blood. The voice fades. You slide your hand along the wall, grounding yourself in the cold, solid feel of it. You press your palm flat and focus on the sensation until the ringing in your ears subsides. Your breathing evens out, though your chest aches with the effort. You are not hearing mission control. You are hearing what you want to hear. That realization is worse than the hallucination itself. You pull yourself into your sleeping bag and secure it tighter than usual, as if restraint might keep your mind from drifting too far. You stare at the fabric wall again, inches from your face, and force yourself to keep your eyes open. You don't trust sleep anymore. You don't trust what your brain does when you let go. Time stretches thin. The hunger is constant now, a low roar under everything. Your head throbs, light hurts, sounds blur. You lose track of how many times you check the pressure display, how many times you convince yourself you hear the hiss again. At one point, you smell coffee. Strong, rich, impossible. You close your eyes and breathe it in before you can stop yourself. When you open them, the smell is gone, replaced by recycled air and disappointment so sharp it makes your chest hurt. You curl slightly in the bag, pulling your arms in close. You feel small. Not physically, existentially. A human mind pushed past what it was meant to handle, floating in a machine that does not care if you break as long as the systems keep running. You are still alive. You repeat it again, but the words feel thinner now. The station hums. The alarm hums. The voices wait just beyond the edge of your hearing, patient and familiar, ready to come back the moment your focus slips.
You wake to the sound of your name. Not shouted, not urgent, just spoken, calmly, the way it would be during a routine handoff or a quiet check-in. The familiarity of it cuts deeper than any alarm ever could. Your eyes snap open, and you forget, for half a second, where you are and why you shouldn't answer. You almost do. Your mouth opens, air moves, no sound comes out. Reality slams back into place, hard enough to make your vision blur. You are alone in your sealed section of the station. You have been alone for a long time. No one is supposed to be able to reach you without a delay measured in tens of seconds at best, minutes at worst. Your name echoes again, closer this time. You squeeze your eyes shut and press your forehead against the fabric wall of the sleeping bag until it hurts. You focus on the pain, on the pressure, on the undeniable fact of your own body. When you open your eyes again, the wall is just a wall. The voice is gone. You lie there, breathing shallow, waiting for your heart to slow. It doesn't, not fully. You force yourself out of the sleeping bag, movements stiff and slow. Your muscles feel like they've forgotten what strength is supposed to feel like. You grab a handrail and hold on longer than necessary, grounding yourself in the cold certainty of metal. You tell yourself to check the displays. You always tell yourself that. The pressure is stable, still low, still survivable. Oxygen within the narrowed margins you've memorized now. Nothing catastrophic has changed while you slept, or drifted, or stared into nothing. That should be comforting. It isn't. You bring up the internal comms panel. You hesitate. You haven't spoken to the others directly in a while. Messages have been short, infrequent, filtered through procedure. You don't know why you hesitate now, but you do. Part of you is afraid no one will answer. A worse part is afraid someone will. You initiate the check-in anyway. You send a simple status ping, stripped of emotion. Alive, stable, request update. The delay stretches. You float there, staring at the panel, listening to the station breathe. Hunger gnaws at you constantly now. Not sharp, not dramatic, just relentless. Your head feels stuffed with cotton. Your thoughts lag behind your intentions. The panel lights up. Incoming transmission. Relief hits first, then dread. The message is short, too short. There has been a problem in another module, not yours, not sealed away like yours. One of the others didn't respond to a scheduled check-in.
They initiated emergency procedures. They are investigating. Your stomach tightens painfully, and not from hunger. You float closer to the screen, as if distance might affect the outcome. You reread the message, parsing each word for meaning it refuses to give you. Not responding can mean a lot of things. Comms glitch, fatigue, sleep. You cling to those possibilities because the alternative is too heavy to pick up all at once. Another message arrives.
They found them. No graphic detail, no drama, just facts. Loss of pressure in a secondary compartment. Suit not secured in time. Unresponsive on arrival. Dead. The word isn't used, but it doesn't need to be. Your vision narrows until the edges of the module fade. You grip the handrail so hard your fingers ache, the pain sharp and grounding. Your breathing turns shallow again, fast enough to make you lightheaded. You force yourself to slow it, counting breaths like you were taught, but the numbers slip away from you. You knew this was possible. You trained for this. You signed paperwork acknowledging this. You understood, intellectually, that space does not negotiate, that mistakes, delays, bad luck, any of them can kill you faster than help can arrive. Understanding doesn't make it lighter. You picture them without meaning to. Their face, pulled from memory with cruel clarity. The way they floated. The way they laughed quietly during late shifts. The way their voice sounded through a headset. Your brain supplies details you don't want, fills in gaps with images you never saw. You swallow hard and taste bile. There is no body to bring back, not really. Up here, death doesn't fall. It stays where it is, suspended, another object to be secured, another problem to solve. There are procedures for this too. Of course there are. You don't know if they've followed them yet. You don't ask. You send back an acknowledgement, a single line. Received, standing by. You stare at the screen after, waiting for more. It stays dark. The station feels different now. Not quieter, not louder, emptier. You float away from the comm panel without a plan, drifting until your shoulder bumps gently into a wall. The impact is soft, but it startles you enough to make your heart jump again. You curse under your breath and steady yourself. You think about how thin the walls are between you and vacuum. You think about how thin the walls were between them and nothing. Guilt creeps in before you can stop it. Irrational, but relentless. Why weren't you there? Why didn't you notice something sooner? Why did you get sealed into the safe section while they didn't? You know the answers don't matter. Guilt doesn't care about logic. You drift toward the sealed hatch again, pressing your palm against it like before. Somewhere beyond it, beyond other hatches and modules, someone has died. The station holds that fact the same way it holds everything else, without comment. You close your eyes and breathe slowly. A sound reaches you then. Not a hallucination this time, not a voice, a dull, distant thump transmitted through the structure, followed by another, then another. Regular. Deliberate. They are moving something. The realization makes your chest tighten painfully. You know what procedures look like. You've practiced them. You know how careful the movements have to be, how methodical. There is no ceremony, no gravity to give weight to the moment, just straps and handholds and checklists.
You picture them working in silence, focused, professional, doing what needs to be done because the station doesn't stop just because someone died inside it. Neither do you. You force yourself back to the workstation. Your hands shake as you bring up system status again, but you make yourself do it anyway. This is how you cope. Work. Numbers. Tasks that don't ask how you feel. Pressure. Steady. Oxygen. Steady. You feel suddenly, violently angry at the word steady.
Your stomach cramps hard enough to make you double over slightly, arms wrapping around yourself. You grit your teeth and ride it out, breathing through your nose. When it passes, you feel weaker than before. The hunger has teeth now. It bites when it wants. You consider eating again, then don't. You don't trust your judgment right now. You don't trust what you might take without thinking about tomorrow. You drift back to the sleeping bag and anchor yourself halfway in, not to sleep, just to stop moving. Movement feels expensive now. Every push and pull costs energy you don't know if you'll need later. Your thoughts spiral despite your efforts. If the station can kill one of you, it can kill all of you. If a leak can go unnoticed long enough to be fatal there, it can happen again here. You imagine the patch failing while you're distracted, while you're asleep, while you're staring at a screen and pretending control still exists. You feel tears come without warning. They float off your face in small, shimmering spheres, clinging to your eyelashes before drifting away. You swipe at them angrily, smearing moisture across your cheeks. Crying feels useless, dangerous, a waste of water your body can't afford to lose. You stop, jaw clenched, breathing uneven. The station hums. The alarm hums. The distant thumps stop. Time stretches again, thin and distorted. You don't know how long you stay there, half-curled, staring at nothing. Eventually, another message arrives, formal, procedural. They confirm the loss. They outline next steps, adjusted plans, revised risk assessments. Your name appears in the text more than once. You are still needed. That thought lands heavily. Comfort and burden tangled together. You are alive, and because you are alive, you must keep functioning. Grief is a luxury that can wait. You acknowledge the message. Again, clicked, professional. When you pull yourself out of the bag, your body protests. Weakness floods your limbs, making them feel hollow. You grip the handrail and test yourself, moving slowly, deliberately. You can still function, barely. You file that fact away like a precious resource. As you drift toward the galley, you hear it. A laugh. Soft, familiar. The exact cadence of the person who just died. Your entire body locks. The sound comes from behind you, close enough that you can almost feel breath on your neck. Your pulse spikes violently and black spots bloom in your vision. You don't turn around. You can't. Fear roots you in place, sharp and absolute. The laugh fades. You sag against the wall, heart hammering, chest aching. You slide your palm along the metal, grounding yourself again. Cold, solid, real.
You are not hearing them. You are hearing memory. You repeat that to yourself until the words lose meaning. You eat then. You have to. Your hands are shaking too badly to ignore it. You open a pouch and consume it mechanically, barely tasting it. You drink a few careful sips of water and feel it sit heavy in your stomach. Nausea rises and falls but doesn't take over. You secure the empty pouch and float back, exhausted in a way that goes beyond physical. Someone is gone. The station continues. You are still here. That fact sits between relief and terror, impossible to separate. You wonder how long before one outweighs the other. You wonder how many more failures this place is holding in reserve. You pull yourself back into the sleeping bag and anchor down, staring at the fabric wall once more. You don't trust sleep, but you don't have the strength to stay awake either. As you close your eyes, you see their face again. This time it doesn't speak. It just looks at you, weightless, drifting away. You stop counting orbits. Not because you choose to, because the numbers stop sticking. You glance at the clock, and the meaning slides off it like water. Another sunrise, another sunset. They blur together until the only time that matters is measured in breaths, sips, and how long the pressure line stays flat. Your body is running on less than it wants, less than it needs. Hunger has stopped announcing itself loudly. That's the part that scares you most. It's no longer sharp or demanding.
It's everywhere, baked into you, a quiet hollowing that makes every movement feel like it costs more than it should. You float slowly through your reduced world, conserving energy the way you conserve air. You don't push off walls anymore. You pull yourself along, careful and economical, hands sliding from rail to rail. Your arms tremble if you hold yourself in place too long. Your legs feel distant, like they belong to someone else. The station hums, but it sounds farther away now, muted, as if you're listening to it through layers of insulation that weren't there before. You check the displays out of habit, not because you expect surprises. Pressure stable, oxygen stable. Stable has become a thin ledge you cling to with your fingertips. Your head throbs constantly. It's not a sharp pain, it's a deep pressure, like your skull is too small for your thoughts. Light hurts more than it used to. Even the dimmed LEDs feel harsh. You turn them down further and sit in the half-dark, eyes half-closed, breathing slow. You try to think about Earth. It doesn't help anymore. At first, the planet was comfort, a reminder of air and gravity and noise and life. Now it feels like something you've been exiled from. You picture oceans and cities and people eating meals without thinking about how many calories are left, and the image makes your stomach twist with something close to anger. You don't look out the window as often now. When you do, it's different. The Earth looks closer than it should, larger, the curve exaggerated, the colors too intense, blues that feel electric, whites that glow. You tell yourself it's just contrast, fatigue playing tricks on your eyes. You don't fully believe it.
You float near the cupola longer than you mean to, forehead almost touching the glass. The planet slides beneath you, indifferent. You imagine letting go of the station, drifting down, falling through that thin blue line. The thought feels warm, inviting. That scares you enough to pull back. You push away from the window and feel a wave of dizziness wash over you. Your vision tunnels again, dark at the edges. You grip a handrail hard and wait it out, breathing carefully. It passes, leaving you shaky and annoyed at yourself. You are not allowed to drift off mentally. Not here. The voices come more often now. Sometimes they're indistinct, just murmurs that rise and fall with the station's hum. Sometimes they're clear enough that you can make out words, your name, instructions, familiar phrases pulled from training, from old conversations, from Earth. They never say anything new. They don't warn you, they don't give you information. They just keep you company. You hate that part of yourself welcomes them. You sit anchored near the wall, knees tucked slightly, arms wrapped around yourself in a posture that mimics sitting. You stare at a scuffed panel and listen to a voice that sounds like someone you trained with years ago, calmly explaining a procedure you already know. You nod along without realizing you're doing it. When the voice fades, the silence feels heavier than before. You check the comm panel again, even though you know there won't be anything new. There isn't. Just the last messages, procedural and distant. Plans still forming, options still being evaluated. Rescue discussed in language that avoids commitment. You read between the lines now without effort. Nothing is guaranteed. You float back toward the galley, movements slower than ever. You open the storage and stare at what's left. The supplies look smaller every time you check them, even when you know the numbers haven't changed. You do the math again anyway, even though it makes your head hurt. You decide to eat. Not because you want to, because the fog is getting worse, and you're afraid of what your mind will do if you don't anchor it. You open a pouch with hands that feel clumsy, almost numb. You eat half of it, then stop. You force yourself to put the rest away, sealing it carefully, like that might stop the urge. It doesn't. Your stomach cramps hard enough to make you curl forward slightly, breath hitching. You ride it out, eyes squeezed shut, jaw clenched. When it passes, you feel weaker than before. Your limbs feel hollow, like they're filled with air instead of muscle. You drink a single sip of water, just one.
It feels like relief and punishment at the same time. The station creaks softly as it transitions from sunlight to shadow again. The sound used to mean nothing. Now it makes your heart jump every time. You imagine the patch failing with a soft, polite hiss, the way it almost did before. You imagine not having the strength to reach it in time. You check it again, still holding. You linger there longer than necessary, palm pressed against the sealed seam, feeling the faint vibration of air on the other side. You talk to it under your breath without realizing it, words barely formed, more intention than sound. When you catch yourself, you stop abruptly, embarrassed even though no one can hear you. You are talking to a wall.
You push away and drift back, suddenly exhausted. The effort of simply existing feels immense now. You pull yourself into the sleeping bag and secure it, not because you intend to sleep, but because it's easier than holding yourself upright. Your thoughts unravel when you lie still. Images intrude without warning. Earth kitchens, hands breaking bread, water poured into glasses until it spills. You see faces you haven't thought about in years, too vivid, too detailed. You smell things that aren't there, fried food, soil after rain, coffee strong enough to make your eyes water. You open your eyes sharply, breathing fast. The smells vanish, leaving only recycled air and disappointment that feels like grief. You hear movement. This time, it's unmistakable. A slow, deliberate scraping sound, like something heavy being pulled along a surface. It's not rhythmic. It's not mechanical. It sounds like effort, like someone working. Your pulse spikes violently. You twist in the sleeping bag, straining to see past the fabric wall. The sound seems to come from just outside your section, beyond the sealed hatch. You hold your breath, listening. The scraping continues, followed by a soft thud. You know what procedures look like. You know what they're doing. Your throat tightens painfully. You squeeze your eyes shut and press your face into the fabric as if that might block out the sound. It doesn't. The station carries vibration too well. Every movement transmits, whispering through metal and bone. The sound stops. The silence afterward is crushing. You float there, heart racing, tears leaking from the corners of your eyes despite your efforts to stop them. They drift away, tiny spheres catching the dim light before sticking to the wall. You swipe at them angrily, smearing moisture everywhere. Stop, you think. Stop falling apart. But the station doesn't give you time to recover. Another hallucination creeps in, subtle at first. The walls seem to bow inward slightly, like they're breathing. You blink hard, and they snap back to normal. You tell yourself it's fatigue, low blood sugar, stress. All of it true, none of it comforting. You push yourself out of the bag again, because lying still is worse. You drift, unanchored, spinning slowly until you catch a rail and stop yourself. The brief disorientation leaves you nauseous. You swallow hard and breathe through it. Your body is failing you in small ways. Your hands shake even when you're not scared. Your legs twitch when you try to relax them. Your thoughts slip away mid-sentence. You find yourself starting tasks and forgetting why you started them. You check the same display 3 times in a row without remembering the previous checks. You start talking to yourself out loud. At first, it's just instructions, simple reminders. Slow down, breathe, check pressure. Then it becomes commentary, observations, complaints. The sound of your own voice fills the silence in a way that feels necessary. You catch yourself apologizing at one point.
You don't know to whom. The Earth drifts into view again through the cupola window, and you find yourself drawn to it despite everything. You anchor yourself and stare, longer this time. The Earth looks unreal now, like a simulation rendered too cleanly. You imagine stepping into it, feeling gravity slam you down, pin you in place. The thought feels comforting. Your vision blurs. For a moment,
just a moment, you are convinced the Earth is moving toward you, growing larger, faster than it should. Your breath catches, and panic surges before you blink, and the illusion collapses. The planet resumes its slow, indifferent slide. You laugh weakly, the sound thin and wrong. You are not okay. You know that now. You bring up the comm panel again, fingers hovering over the controls. You consider telling them everything. The voices, the time loss, the way your body feels like it's emptying out. You imagine the response, calm, concerned, filtered through delay and protocol. You don't send it. Part of you is afraid they'll decide you're no longer an asset, that you're a liability, that they'll stop factoring you into rescue plans because you're already failing. Another part of you is afraid they'll tell you to hold on, that help is coming, and you won't be able to. You sit there, frozen, until your arms start to ache and you have to move. You eat again, smaller than before. Your stomach accepts it reluctantly, then cramps anyway. You curl slightly around the pain, breathing shallow until it passes. When it does, you feel drained, like something essential has been taken from you and not replaced. The alarm hums on. The patch holds. The station continues. You don't know how long you have been awake when the thought enters your mind, uninvited and dangerous. What if this is it? Not in a dramatic sense, not an explosion or sudden failure. Just this, slow depletion, hunger, weakness, a mind that drifts farther from reality each orbit. You imagine fading out quietly, systems still running, Earth still spinning below. The thought doesn't terrify you the way it should. It feels heavy and tempting. That realization scares you more than any alarm ever has. You force yourself to move, to anchor, to check something, anything, just to prove you're still here. You press your palm against the wall and feel the vibration of life moving through the station. You focus on that sensation, grounding yourself in the present moment. You are alive. Barely. The hallucinations linger at the edges of your vision now, patient, waiting for you to slip. The hunger is no longer a problem to solve, it's a condition to endure. The death of your crewmate hangs over everything, a reminder that the station has already claimed one of you. It can claim another. You drift back into the sleeping bag, exhausted beyond language, and secure yourself in place. You don't close your eyes right away. You stare at the fabric wall, counting your breaths, listening to the hum and the alarm and the faint whisper of your own blood in your ears. Earth is somewhere below you, full of life you can no longer reach. And for the first time since the breach, you are no longer sure you want to fight this feeling of letting go. You wake to the sound of nothing changing. That's what tells you something's wrong. The alarm is still there, humming in its flat, patient tone. The fans are still moving air, the station still feels intact, and yet your body reacts before your thoughts do. A sudden jolt of alertness cutting through the fog like pain. Your heart rate spikes, your muscles tense. Some instinct buried deeper than training tells you this moment matters. You don't know why yet. You float out of the sleeping bag slowly, joints stiff, limbs weak. Your movements feel delayed, like your body is responding to commands sent from far away. You grip the nearest handrail and pause, breathing shallow until the dizziness settles. Black specks dance at the edges of your vision and then fade. You are still here. You push toward the workstation because that's where answers live, or at least numbers that pretend to be answers. The screen takes a second longer than usual to respond, or maybe your perception is off. You blink hard and focus. There's a new indicator blinking. Not amber, not red, blue. Your stomach tightens instantly. Blue means incoming. Blue means communication. You float closer, pulse hammering so hard you can feel it in your throat. For a terrifying moment, the screen stays blank, as if mocking you. Then, text begins to scroll. Mission Control has updated. You stare at the words, forcing yourself to read them slowly,
because your brain wants to sprint ahead and fill in gaps with panic. The message is longer than the others, structured, deliberate. They have identified a recovery window. Your breath catches painfully. They are exploring options for rendezvous. Not a guarantee, not a promise, but an option. A narrow one. Fuel constraints, orbital alignment, risk to remaining crew, risk to you. You read the word risk several times. They outline two paths. One involves waiting, stretching your supplies as long as possible while they attempt to reposition a vehicle. The other involves action, manual systems, power cycling, procedures you have practiced only in simulations, never in this configuration, never under these conditions. Your name appears again. They need you conscious. They need you responsive. They need you capable. Your hands shake as you grip the rail. A sharp wave of emotion crashes through you. Hope, terror, exhaustion, all tangled together. Hope hurts more than hunger ever did. Hope opens you up to disappointment. Hope demands energy you don't know if you have. You swallow and taste dryness and something bitter underneath. You bring up the oxygen display again because you need something solid. The numbers haven't changed much. That's good. It's also bad. It means time is still the enemy.
You read the message again. The rescue window is not immediate. Hours, possibly longer. Your chest tightens. Hours feels manageable and impossible at the same time. Hours means enduring what you already feel for even longer. Hours means not letting your mind slip any further. Hours means staying alive deliberately, not just by accident. You float back from the console and brace yourself against the wall, closing your eyes for a moment. When you open them, the module looks slightly distorted, like the walls are farther away than they should be. You blink until it resolves. You don't have time for this now. You send your acknowledgement, hands trembling, words clipped, status unchanged, conscious, functional. You don't mention the hallucinations. You don't mention how thin functional has become. You know they are making calculations that involve you as a variable. You don't want to tip that equation in the wrong direction. The station creaks softly as it moves into sunlight again. Warmth creeps through the structure, subtle but noticeable. Your skin prickles. Sweat forms quickly now, your body struggling to regulate itself on reduced intake. You wipe your forehead and watch the moisture float away. You are aware of your body in a way that borders on painful. Every ache, every weakness, every tremor. You feel your heartbeat constantly, like it's trying to remind you that it's still working. You decide to eat, not because you want to, because if there is a chance, any chance, you need fuel. You open one of the last pouches and stare at it for a long moment, calculating. You eat half, chew slowly, swallow carefully. Your stomach cramps almost immediately, protesting the intrusion. You ride it out, breathing through clenched teeth until the pain dulls. You drink 2 small sips of water, more than before. You tell yourself it's an investment. The fog in your head lifts slightly. Not enough to feel good, enough to feel sharper. The voices recede to a distant murmur. You take advantage of the clarity while it lasts, pulling up the procedures Mission Control referenced. You read them line by line, forcing your mind to stay on task. Manual power reroute, subsystem isolation, preparation for external assistance. Words that mean nothing without context, words that mean everything if you get them wrong. You move slowly through the steps you can do now, conserving energy where you can, expending it where you must. You reposition equipment. You secure loose items. You double-check the patch again, palm pressed flat against the sealed seam. It holds. You let out a breath you didn't realize you were holding. You think about the person who died. You think about how close you are to joining them.
You think about how strange it is that rescue, if it comes, will arrive to a station that looks calm from the outside. No explosions, no fire, just quiet metal and a human body hanging on by numbers.
Another message arrives, shorter this time. They confirm commitment. They are going for it. Your vision blurs and you have to close your eyes. When you open them again, tears float free immediately, hot and uncontrollable. You wipe them away angrily, breathing uneven. You don't know if they are relief or fear, probably both. They give you a timeline. You count it out in your head, then stop because counting makes it worse. Instead, you break it into pieces, minutes, tasks, breaths. You can handle breaths. You secure yourself near the workstation and wait. Waiting is harder now that hope has a shape. Every sound feels amplified. Every creak sends your heart racing. Every flicker of a light makes you imagine failure cascading through the station. You fight the urge to check the displays every few seconds, knowing that constant movement wastes energy and attention. Your body slumps slightly against the restraints. Weakness washes over you in waves. You ride them, breathing through the worst of it, reminding yourself that this is temporary. That's a dangerous word, but you cling to it anyway. At some point, you hear the voices again. This time, they don't scare you as much. They sound encouraging, familiar, almost gentle. You recognize the danger in that immediately and force your attention back to the screen, to the numbers, to anything solid. You speak aloud, narrating what you see, anchoring yourself in reality through sound. Pressure stable, oxygen stable. You are still alive. The minutes stretch. Your hands go numb, your feet tingle, your vision swims if you move too quickly. You feel detached from your body, like you're piloting it from somewhere behind your eyes. You focus on the comm panel, waiting for the next update like it's a lifeline. Then it comes. Docking sequence initiated. Your heart lurches so hard it hurts. You float closer to the screen, barely daring to breathe. They warn you of vibrations, of power fluctuations, of noises that may sound alarming but are expected. They tell you to stay where you are, to conserve energy, to prepare. Prepare for what you don't know. You hear a new sound then, faint but unmistakable. A low rumble. It travels through the station's structure, subtle but real. Not a creak, not a fan, something external. Your skin prickles all over. You grip the handrail until your fingers ache, afraid to let go. The rumble fades, then returns, stronger. Your breath catches in your throat. This is it. Whatever happens next, rescue or failure will not be quiet. You float there, suspended between hope and exhaustion, listening to the station respond to forces it hasn't felt since you arrived. You think about Earth, about gravity, about the weight of a body on solid ground. You don't know if you'll feel that again. The alarm hums on, steady and indifferent. Your heart races, your vision narrows. And as the station shudders around you, you realize that survival is no longer just about enduring. It's about lasting long enough for someone else to reach you. You feel the station react before you understand why. It's not a single jolt, it's a layered sensation, vibration bleeding into vibration, a deep tremor traveling through the handrails and into your bones. The hum you've lived inside for days fractures into something harsher, uneven, as systems shift priorities without asking your permission. The alarm changes tone again, lower now, heavier, like the station is bracing itself. You brace too. You hook an arm and a leg into restraints and pull yourself tight, muscles trembling with the effort. Your heart is hammering so hard it feels out of sync with your breathing. You force slow inhales through your nose, shallow exhales through your mouth. You cannot afford panic now. Panic will waste oxygen. Panic will steal coordination. Panic will get you killed at the finish line. The rumble returns, stronger this time. It's unmistakable now. Thrusters firing somewhere outside your section, metal responding to force instead of temperature. The station groans, a long, low sound that makes your teeth buzz.
You feel yourself sway slightly in your restraints, weightless body reacting to acceleration your inner ear cannot interpret correctly. You taste bile. Mission Control's last message replays in your head in fragments. Docking sequence. Expect vibrations. Remain secured. Their calm voices feel unreal now, like they belong to another world. Up here, calm is a luxury you don't have. The lights flicker. Not off, never fully off, just enough to remind you how fragile illumination is. Emergency strips glow brighter along the walls, bathing the module in a dim, clinical red that flattens everything it touches. Shadows crawl where they shouldn't. Your depth perception warps. You blink hard, fighting the urge to close your eyes. You will not miss this. The station shudders again, harder than before. A sharp, metallic bang echoes through the structure, followed by a cascade of smaller impacts, vibrations rattling panels, straps twitching in disturbed air. Your breath catches painfully in your chest. For one frozen moment, you are certain something has torn open again. You check the pressure display with frantic eyes. Stable, still low, still holding. You exhale shakily. Outside, something massive is moving relative to you, something with intent. The station hasn't felt this alive since you arrived. You feel like a parasite clinging to the inside of a machine being forced to dance. Another jolt hits, sudden and lateral. Your body slams against the restraints, pain flaring across your shoulder where the strap bites in. You grit your teeth and ride it out, vision blurring. The alarm spikes briefly, then settles. Systems scream data at each other faster than you could follow.
You hear a new sound layered under everything else. A roar. Not loud in the way fire is loud on Earth. Muffled, distant, continuous. It vibrates through the walls rather than through the air. Thrusters, attitude control, something pushing hard against orbital momentum that doesn't want to change. Your stomach lurches as if gravity has briefly remembered you exist. You swallow hard and taste metal. You think about the patch. You imagine it peeling back under stress, sealant tearing loose in a slow, obscene stretch. You imagine the hiss returning, louder this time, unstoppable. You tighten your grip on the rail until your hands ache. Hold, you think, just hold. The station answers with another groan. Your vision tunnels again, dark creeping in from the edges. You focus on the numbers on the screen, forcing your eyes to track each digit. Pressure, oxygen, temperature. They are your anchors. As long as they behave, you exist. The roar deepens. Then comes the heat. At first, it's subtle, a warmth that seeps through the walls, barely noticeable under stress. Then it builds, uneven and wrong. You feel it on your face, on your forearms. The air grows stale faster, thickening in your lungs. Sweat bursts free from your skin immediately, floating in frantic beads that smear across your cheeks and forehead. Fire is happening somewhere. Not inside your module, not yet, but outside, against the skin of the station or the approaching vehicle. Friction and exhaust and controlled violence are rewriting the environment. You smell something sharp under the recycled air, hot metal, scorched insulation. The scent crawls into your sinuses and refuses to leave. The lights flicker again, longer this time. Your heart leaps into your throat. Emergency lighting takes over fully now, washing everything in a deep red glow that makes the space feel smaller, more claustrophobic. The station feels like it's closing in around you, compressing, squeezing. Your ears pop painfully. Pressure changes. Not catastrophic, but noticeable, enough to make your head throb harder. You swallow repeatedly, jaw working, trying to equalize. Each swallow sends a spike of pain through your sinuses. You hear Mission Control again. This time, it's real. The comm panel crackles to life, their voices distorted by interference and delay, clipped and urgent beneath layers of procedure. You don't process the words so much as the tone. Things are happening fast, faster than planned. They are adjusting in real time. They tell you to stay secured. They tell you to prepare for contingencies.
Contingencies is a polite word for failure. The station bucks again, violent enough that a loose object breaks free and floats across the module before slamming into a wall. The sound is loud in the confined space, sharp and startling. Your heart rate spikes dangerously high. You force yourself to slow your breathing again, even as your body screams to do the opposite. The roar peaks. For a brief, terrifying moment, you are certain you are falling. Your stomach drops in a way that makes no sense in microgravity. Your inner ear lies to you, telling you down exists again, and you are moving toward it fast. You feel heat surge through the walls, stronger now, uneven patches of warmth that make you think of flames licking metal.
You think about re-entry. You think about fire wrapping a capsule, plasma shearing away air, everything screaming as physics takes over. You imagine this station, too big, too fragile, never meant to feel that kind of stress. The thought makes your chest tighten painfully. Something slams into the station. Not an impact, a contact. The entire structure rings like a struck bell. The sound reverberates through every surface, a deep, resonant clang that rattles your teeth and leaves your ears ringing. Your body jerks hard against the restraints, pain flaring in your ribs and shoulders. Then, stillness. Not complete, never complete, but the violence pauses like a held breath. The roar drops to a low, steady rumble. The heat stops rising. The station creaks softly, settling into a new equilibrium. You are shaking uncontrollably now. Adrenaline has nowhere to go. Your muscles twitch and spasm against your will. You clench your jaw so hard it hurts, afraid your teeth will chatter loudly enough to matter. The comm panel lights again. Docking contact confirmed. The words hit you like a physical blow. Confirmed means real. Confirmed means something solid is holding you now. Confirmed means you might not be alone anymore. You don't cry. You don't cheer. You just breathe. The process isn't over. You know that. Docking is not rescue. Docking is alignment, pressure equalization, mechanical latches engaging one by one. Each step is another chance for failure. Another chance for fire, for rupture, for the patch to give up. You wait. Minutes stretch into something viscous and unbearable. The station vibrates intermittently as mechanisms engage. You hear distant clunks transmitted through the structure, each one sending a jolt of fear through you. You check the pressure obsessively, watching for spikes or drops. Nothing dramatic happens. That's almost worse. Your body sags slightly in the restraints as exhaustion crashes over you all at once. The effort of staying conscious feels monumental now. Your limbs feel heavy despite the lack of gravity. Your head lolls forward until you catch yourself, jaw clenched. Stay awake. You repeat it silently like a prayer. Another message comes through. Hard mate achieved. Your breath leaves you in a broken rush. Hard mate means structural connection, means the vehicles are locked together, means you are no longer relying solely on a wounded station to keep you alive. The lights flicker one last time, then stabilize. The alarm tone shifts again, downgrading, still present but less urgent. It's not gone. It won't be gone until pressure and atmosphere are fully restored. But it's quieter now, less accusatory. You feel the heat begin to dissipate. Sweat cools on your skin, leaving you chilled and shaky. Your clothes cling uncomfortably, damp and heavy. You don't care. You barely register the discomfort. All your attention is focused on the reality slowly solidifying around you. You are not falling. You are not burning. You are still alive. The final phase takes longer than you expect. Pressure equalization is slow, deliberate, cautious. Air hisses faintly through valves, controlled this time, intentional. The sound makes your heart race anyway. You watch the numbers climb by fractions, holding your breath without realizing it until your chest aches. Then the pressure stabilizes. Nominal. The word looks unreal on the screen. Your knees go weak, even though they don't need to support you. You sag against the restraints, body trembling, eyes burning. You let yourself close them for just a second, just long enough to feel the weight of what almost happened. When you open them again, the world is still there. The comm panel lights once more. Hatch opening in progress. Your pulse spikes again, this time with something dangerously close to relief. You listen, straining, as mechanisms engage somewhere beyond your module. You hear the unmistakable sound of air moving in volume, of spaces connecting. Then you hear it. A human sound. Not a voice yet, just movement, a soft thud of a boot against metal, the scrape of a gloved hand on a handrail. Real, unfiltered, close. Your throat tightens painfully. You don't move. You don't speak. You just stay anchored, breathing shallow, afraid that if you do anything too sudden, this fragile victory will vanish. The hatch opens. Light spills into your section, white, clean, almost blinding after days of red emergency glow. Your eyes sting, and you squint, tears welling despite your efforts. Silhouettes move in the opening, shapes resolving into suits, helmets, visors reflecting your cramped world back at you. You are not hallucinating. They are real. Someone reaches for you, gloved hand extended, movements careful and deliberate. You stare at it for a second too long, brain struggling to accept the touch is allowed again. When you finally take it, your grip is weak, embarrassing. They don't react. They anchor you gently, stabilizing your drifting body. You feel absurdly light. You feel unbearably heavy. As they guide you toward the open hatch, you catch one last glance at your section of the station. The sealed patch, the dim lights, the space where you almost disappeared without anyone knowing exactly when. Fire had brushed past this place. Darkness had waited patiently. You made it through. But as your body crosses into the connected module, supported by hands that aren't yours, you realize something cold and sobering. Survival didn't come gently. It came loud and violent and indifferent. And whatever you carry out of this station with you, it will not burn away as easily as fear did in the fire.
You wake up heavy. Not emotionally, physically. The first thing you feel is weight pressing you into yourself, a crushing presence that has nothing to do with gravity and everything to do with exhaustion. Your limbs feel dense, overfilled, like they've absorbed more than they can carry. You try to move and discover that your body answers slowly, reluctantly, as if it's considering whether the effort is worth it. You are alive. That fact arrives late. Your eyes open to light that is too bright and too clean. It hurts. You squint, then shut them again, breath hitching as your chest struggles to expand fully. Air rushes in anyway, richer than what you've been breathing, cooler, carrying a faint sterile scent that reminds you of hospitals and training facilities. You cough once, sharp and involuntary, and the sound feels violent in your throat. Hands steady you immediately. You don't look at them. You don't want to. You focus instead on breathing, on the simple mechanical act of pulling air in and pushing it out. Each breath feels like work. Your lungs burn faintly, unused to fullness, unused to ease. Your heart is racing, then slowing, then racing again, unsure which rhythm it belongs to now. You are not in your section anymore. You know this without opening your eyes. The hum is different. The vibrations are different. The station doesn't feel like it's pressing in on you the way it was before. There is more space here, more air, more people. That last part registers slowly, like a fact your brain is reluctant to accept. Someone speaks near you. You don't process the words, not yet. The sound itself is what matters. Human, close, grounded. It doesn't echo the way voices did in your head. It doesn't dissolve when you try to focus on it. It stays. You open your eyes again. The world swims. Ceilings drift. Lights blur. Shapes overlap and pull apart.
For a second, panic flares, your mind reaching for the familiar terror of hallucination, but this time the blur resolves instead of deepening. You see helmets, suits, patches you recognize, faces behind visors. Real. Your throat tightens painfully, and you have to swallow several times before you trust your voice enough to exist. Even then, you don't speak. You don't know what you would say. Thank you feels insufficient. I'm alive feels wrong. They guide you gently, careful with your movements, aware of how little strength you have left. You let them. You don't fight. You don't insist on doing anything yourself. Pride burned off somewhere between hunger and fire. As you move, you catch glimpses of the station you almost died in. Familiar corridors slide past, but they look different now. Smaller, less personal, like a place you once lived and have already outgrown in a single night. You spot the sealed patch as you pass the module opening, dull and unremarkable now that it's no longer screaming for your attention. That tiny thing nearly killed you. The thought lands quietly and stays. They seat you, strap you, really, into a position meant for recovery, restraints firm but careful. You sag into them, body grateful for support. The moment you stop actively holding yourself together, fatigue crashes over you in a wave so strong it's almost nauseating.
Your hands shake. You stare at them, detached, watching the tremor ripple through fingers that once followed checklists with precision. They look thinner than you remember, paler. The skin seems loose, unfamiliar. You flex them slowly, reassured when they still obey. You are still in here. Someone places a mask near your face again, but this one is different, softer, less desperate. Oxygen flows, cool and generous. You breathe it in and feel something in your chest loosen painfully, like a knot you didn't know was there finally giving way. Tears come without warning, hot and uncontrollable, spilling out despite your attempts to stop them. No one comments. They let it happen. You don't sob. There's no sound, just silent tears drifting and smearing, your jaw clenched tight enough to ache. Crying feels like another loss of control, another thing your body is doing without permission, but you don't have the strength to fight it, and eventually you stop trying. Time behaves strangely after that. Moments skip. You're aware of movement, then stillness, of voices rising and falling, of hands adjusting straps, checking readings, speaking calmly about you as if you are a system that needs monitoring, rather than a person who almost disappeared. You don't mind. Being treated like a system feels safe right now. You drift in and out of awareness, not quite asleep, not fully awake. In one of those in-between moments, you feel something you haven't felt in days. Gravity. Not full, not crushing, just enough to register. A gentle pull that makes your stomach lurch and your muscles protest weakly. It feels wrong and right at the same time. Your body reacts instinctively, heart rate jumping, breath catching as old reflexes struggle to remember how to work. You are being oriented for return. The realization brings a strange mix of relief and grief. You didn't expect to miss this place so soon. Or maybe you're not missing it. You're mourning the version of yourself that entered it. Someone asks you a question. You manage to nod. Another question. You try to answer and discover your voice is barely there, a thin rasp that surprises you. You clear your throat and try again. A word comes out this time. You don't remember which one. It's enough. As the hours, or maybe minutes, pass, clarity returns in pieces. You remember the hunger, the voices, the death, the sound of scraping metal that meant someone was being moved out of existence. The memory hits hard enough that your breath stutters, chest tightening with a sudden sharp pain. Your heart rate spikes immediately. Hands are on you again, steadying, grounding. You focus on their pressure, on the reality of touch, until the memory loosens its grip.
You realize then that the danger isn't over just because the alarms are quieter. The danger followed you out. Eventually, they tell you what's next. Re-entry. The word lands with weight. You've trained for this. You know the steps, the physics, the risks. But training doesn't account for what your body feels like now. Emptied out, fragile, already spent. You don't say any of that. You nod again, trusting them to manage what you can't. They help you into the capsule. It's smaller than the station, more enclosed. The walls press closer. For a brief, irrational moment, panic flares, memories of sealed hatches and shrinking air clawing their way back. But this space feels different, purpose-built, temporary, a way through, not a place to endure.
You strap in. The restraints are tight, firm, inescapable. You don't resist. Being held in place feels reassuring now, like the world is finally making decisions for you again. As systems spin up, you feel the vibration change. The hum deepens. The air smells different, cleaner, tinged with something chemical and sharp. You focus on the sound, on the rhythm, because focusing is easier than thinking. Someone's voice comes through your headset, clear and close. You understand the words this time. They count down. Each number feels heavy. When the engines fire, it's nothing like docking. This is not a series of controlled nudges. This is commitment. Acceleration slams into you hard enough to drive the air from your lungs. Gravity blooms violently, crushing you back into the seat. Your chest struggles against the pressure, breath shallow and fast despite your efforts to control it. Pain flares in muscles that haven't been used properly in days. Your vision tunnels. You fight it, focusing on the voice in your headset, on the numbers scrolling across your display. The G-forces press you down relentlessly, making your limbs feel like they're made of lead. You want to move. You can't. Fire arrives. Not the distant heat you felt during docking. This is intimate, surrounding. The roar of plasma screaming past the capsule is loud enough to feel, a constant thunder that vibrates through your bones. The temperature spikes, uneven and terrifying, and for a heartbeat you were back in the station, imagining metal failing, seals peeling away. You gasp involuntarily. The air stays. The capsule holds. You ride the fire with teeth clenched, body pinned, mind skittering dangerously close to panic. You force yourself to breathe in short, controlled bursts. In, out, in, out. Each breath is a small victory. The descent stretches on far longer than you expect. Your body screams, your head pounds, your vision flickers at the edges. At one point, you are convinced you hear the voices again. Familiar, comforting, wrong. But this time you recognize them for what they are and let them pass without engaging. You are too tired to be fooled. When the forces finally ease, it's so abrupt that it almost feels like falling again. Your body slumps in the restraints, muscles trembling violently. Sweat soaks your clothes, heavy and uncomfortable. You are aware of your heartbeat, loud and irregular, then slowly settling into something closer to normal. Parachutes deploy. You feel it more than you hear it, a sudden tug, a shift in motion that makes your stomach flip. The capsule sways. The movement is chaotic and gentle at the same time, nothing like the controlled precision of orbit. This is Earth's atmosphere asserting itself. This is down. The impact comes sooner than you're ready for. It's hard, jarring, a violent punctuation mark that rattles your teeth and drives the breath from your lungs in a painful rush. The capsule rocks, then settles. Silence rushes in to replace the roar, thick and disorienting. For a moment, you think you've lost your hearing. Then sound returns. Wind, distant voices, equipment moving, earth sounds. Messy and layered and alive. You breathe in and the air smells wrong in a way that's almost overwhelming. Soil, vegetation, heat, moisture, too much information all at once. Hands reach for you again.
The hatch opens and light pours in, warmer and harsher than anything you've seen in days. Gravity hits fully now, no longer a suggestion, but a demand. Your body sags against it, every muscle protesting the weight. They lift you. You don't help. You can't. The ground feels impossibly far away even as it approaches. When your feet touch it briefly during the transfer, your legs buckle immediately. Useless. Someone curses softly and adjusts their grip.
You are carried. The sky above you is painfully blue. You stare at it as you're moved, unable to look away. Clouds drift lazily, indifferent to everything you just survived. The sight makes your chest ache with something you don't have a name for. They set you down gently, secure you, begin checks. Questions come. You answer some, others you can't. Words slip away before you can catch them. You apologize without knowing why. Someone tells you it's okay. You don't believe them, but you stop apologizing. As the adrenaline fades, the shaking starts. Not from cold, from release. Your body trembles uncontrollably, deep shudders that rack you from head to toe. You clamp your jaw shut, embarrassed by the lack of control, but no one reacts. They've seen this before. They know what survival looks like after it's done being heroic. You close your eyes. Behind them, the station flashes into existence again. The sealed hatch, the hum, the hunger, the voices. You flinch and force your eyes open, grounding yourself in the sky, the noise, the undeniable weight of Earth. You are back. But you are not whole. As they move you toward medical care, you realize something quietly, with the same certainty you once recognized a pressure drop. You survived the night in orbit. You survived the fire and the hunger and the silence. But what came back to Earth is not the same person who left it. You wake up in a quiet room that smells like disinfectant and warm plastic. Gravity is everywhere now. It presses you into the mattress, into yourself, into the reality that you are finished moving for a while, whether you like it or not. Your body feels wrong in a new way, heavy, sore, stitched together by exhaustion rather than effort. Every breath expands your chest fully, easily, and that alone feels unfamiliar enough to be unsettling. You lie still because moving hurts. Not sharply, not catastrophically, just enough to remind you that your body paid a price it hasn't finished calculating yet. Muscles ache deep in places you didn't know you used. Your joints complain when you shift even slightly. Your skin feels too tight, like it doesn't quite fit the shape you're in now. You are alive. That fact no longer feels dramatic. It feels factual, like a diagnosis. There are machines nearby. You can hear them. Soft beeps, steady rhythms, nothing urgent. The kind of sound meant to reassure you that things are under control. You don't trust it completely. You don't trust quiet anymore. Quiet was never neutral in orbit. Quiet meant waiting for something to fail. You open your eyes slowly. The ceiling doesn't move. It doesn't drift or sway. It stays where it is, solid and boring, and aggressively normal. The light doesn't flicker. Shadows behave correctly. Your brain stares at all of this like it's a trick. You blink a few times, just to make sure. Someone notices you're awake. You can tell by the change in the room before anyone speaks, the subtle shift in attention, the way movement pauses. A voice reaches you, calm and measured, asking you how you feel. You think about the question. How do you feel? Your first instinct is to answer with data. Sore, weak, thirsty, headache. Your second instinct is to say nothing at all. Instead, you settle on a word that feels safest. Tired. They nod like they expected that. They explain things you already know intellectually but don't quite accept yet. Dehydration, muscle atrophy, nutrient depletion, stress response, sleep disruption. They talk about recovery timelines, about physical therapy, about monitoring cognitive effects. They don't mention trauma yet, not directly. You're grateful for that.
You close your eyes while they talk, not because you're bored, but because listening takes effort. Words feel heavy. Concepts take time to land. When you open your eyes again, the room hasn't changed, and that steadiness feels like a small mercy. Time moves differently now. It stretches, but not the way it did in orbit. Here, time piles up. Days stack on top of each other. Mornings are announced by light through windows instead of alarms. Nights are dark in a way that doesn't feel hostile. You sleep when you're allowed to, and when you wake up, you are still here. Your body improves slowly. Pain fades into soreness. Soreness fades into weakness. Weakness becomes something you can work with. You learn how to stand again without swaying. You learn how to walk without gripping something solid. Gravity is a skill you have to relearn, and it's less forgiving than you remember. Your mind is slower to cooperate. At first, it's just flashes, sounds that don't belong to the room. A faint hiss when the air conditioner kicks on, a metallic pop when a door closes down the hall. Each one sends a jolt through your chest before you can stop it. Your heart reacts faster than your reason. They tell you this is normal. You don't like how often you hear that phrase. Food returns to your life cautiously. Small portions, soft textures, things that won't overwhelm a system that forgot what abundance feels like. The first real meal you eat makes your hands shake. The smell alone is enough to bring tears to your eyes, sudden and embarrassing. You eat anyway. Each bite feels unreal. Weight, texture, flavor that doesn't vanish immediately. You chew slowly, deliberately, afraid that if you rush it, it will disappear. When you finish, your stomach hurts, not with hunger, but with fullness. The sensation is foreign enough that you have to sit with it, breathing until your body accepts that this is not a mistake. You start talking to people again. Doctors, specialists, administrators, later family, friends. Voices you recognize instantly and voices that feel strange even though they shouldn't. Everyone wants to know what it was like. Everyone wants to understand. You don't know how to explain it. You try once. You describe the breach, the hunger, the waiting, the rescue. The words sound thin as soon as they leave your mouth, like they're missing weight. People nod, react appropriately, say the right things. You can tell they're listening, but you can also tell they can't feel it. You stop trying after that. At night, when the room is dark and quiet in a way that doesn't threaten you anymore, your mind fills the space anyway. You see the station without trying to, the narrow corridors, the way light looked under emergency power, the sealed patch on the wall that held back vacuum with nothing but hope and sealant. You hear the voices again sometimes. Not as clearly as before, not as convincing, but they're there, slipping in when you're tired enough. Familiar tones, familiar phrases. You recognize them now and let them pass, but they leave behind a residue that makes sleep harder than it should be.
You dream of floating, not falling, floating, weightless, unanchored, turning slowly while Earth slides beneath you. In the dreams, there is no alarm, no hunger, just silence and motion. You wake from those dreams with your heart racing and your body tangled in sheets that feel too tight. They tell you this is also normal. Weeks pass. You grow stronger. You move better. You start leaving the recovery wing, walking outside, feeling sun on your face in a way that is almost overwhelming. The sky feels too big now. You catch yourself checking it for movement, for the slow, inevitable glide of a station that is no longer there. People congratulate you. They call you brave, resilient, lucky, survivor. Each word lands awkwardly. Lucky implies randomness. Survivor implies finality. You don't feel finished. You feel like something followed you down and settled quietly into your chest, waiting. One evening, long after the crowds have thinned and the questions have slowed, you find yourself outside alone. The air is cool. The ground is solid under your feet in a way that still feels faintly unreal. You sit and look up. The night sky is clear.
Stars punch through the darkness in sharp, unmoving points. Planes cross slowly, blinking. Somewhere up there, you know, the International Space Station is still moving. Or maybe it's been replaced. Maybe it's been deorbited. The specifics don't matter as much as the certainty. Something is still circling. You scan the sky without thinking, eyes tracing paths you once knew by heart. You feel a familiar tightening in your chest. Not fear exactly, not longing either. Recognition. You think about how small the station looked from the inside, how cramped, how fragile. You think about how vast it felt when you were sealed inside one section, watching numbers decide how long you would exist. You realize then that part of you never came back. Not in a dramatic way, not a clean break, just a quiet subtraction. A piece of your mind that learned what it means to ration breath, to listen for death in the sound of air moving, to accept that help might not arrive in time. That part stays in orbit. It wakes up sometimes when you hear a hiss, when you smell hot metal, when silence stretches too long. It reminds you how thin the line is between control and chaos, between life and vacuum. You don't fight it anymore.
You acknowledge it. You let it sit with you. You learn, slowly, that survival doesn't end when the danger does. It just changes shape. The stars overhead don't move the way they used to. Or maybe you're the one who changed. You track them anyway, counting without realizing you are. Old habits don't die easily. They just fade into background noise, like the hum of fans you once lived inside. You breathe in deeply. The air is thick, heavy, unlimited. You let it fill your lungs all the way, and then let it go. Somewhere above you, metal glides through vacuum, silent and indifferent. Somewhere below it, you sit on solid ground, alive in a body that remembers too much and forgets nothing that mattered. You don't look away from the sky. You don't need to. You survived the night in orbit. You survived hunger, fear, fire, and silence. You survived being alone in a place that doesn't care if you exist. Now you live with the aftermath. And as the stars hold steady overhead, you understand something with a clarity that doesn't frighten you anymore. Earth is heavy. Life is loud. And you will never again take either of them for granted.